Are you ready to peer into the dark corners of history, where the shadows of the past have yet to dissipate? Today, we unravel one of the most notorious and enigmatic cases, the mystery of Anne Boleyn. This isn't merely a story of love and betrayal. It's a labyrinth where every turn reveals a new enigma, and the truth seems forever lost in a tangle of facts, rumors, and political intrigue. Imagine England in the 16th century. A nation at a crossroads, where a king's whim could shatter the fate of not just individuals, but entire peoples. It is on this stage that she appears, Anne Boleyn. Daughter of a diplomat, lady-in-waiting to the queen, a woman with a brilliant mind and an indomitable will. Her path to the throne was long and sparked a scandal that split the nation in two. For her, King Henry VIII defied Rome itself, annulling his marriage to Catherine of Aragon and founding the Church of England. And became more than a queen, she was a symbol of reformation, a living icon of change. But her triumph was fragile. On May 19, 1536, the glitter of the royal court was replaced by the cold stone of the Tower of London. Like a silent star, Anne walked to the scaffold, where she was beheaded, accused of high treason, adultery, and even incest. The trial lasted only 17 days. The verdict was a foregone conclusion. But what truly happened? Why was the woman for whom a king overturned centuries of tradition so swiftly and brutally eliminated? This is where the real mystery begins. The official court version appears more than dubious today. The 5 men accused of affairs with the Queen weren't just aristocrats, they included the King's closest friend, Henry Norris, and even Anne's own brother, George Boleyn. The evidence was flimsy: contradictory testimonies, coerced interrogations, and letters that suddenly appeared. Rumors of a sixth finger on Anne's hand or a witch's mark on her neck, spread later, added a mystical, sinister layer to the case. Were all these people truly guilty? Or was this an elaborately planned political execution? This leads us to the most intriguing part, the conspiracy theories. The first and most obvious is the plot by the powerful minister, Thomas Cromwell. He orchestrated the trial, he produced the evidence. Perhaps Anne, with her sharp intellect and influence over the king, had become too dangerous a rival in the power struggle? She actively meddled in politics, supported reformers, and her stubbornness could have threatened Cromwell's own position. He may have simply eliminated a competitor, capitalizing on the king's discontent. But was Cromwell the sole architect of her fall? Some see the hand of the Spanish ambassador, seeking revenge for the humiliated Catherine of Aragon. Others suggest that Henry VIII was merely looking for a way to rid himself of Anne, who had failed to bear him a male heir, giving birth only to a daughter, the future Queen Elizabeth I. His passion for a new favorite, Jane Seymour, may have been the final straw. But can passion alone explain such brutality? Was the king, who undoubtedly had loved Anne, a manipulated puppet in a more complex intrigue? Analyzing these events forces us to ask deeper questions. Not just who is to blame, but about the very nature of power, justice, and truth. In the case of Anne Boleyn, we see how law becomes a weapon, and history is written by the victors. All witnesses who could have told a different version were eliminated or silenced by fear. Her image was deliberately tarnished to justify the brutal sentence. Yet, her daughter, Elizabeth I, became one of England's greatest monarchs. Is this not the ultimate irony of fate? The victim, destroyed by the system, gave life to the one who would glorify it. The philosophical conclusion of this story is profound and sobering. The mystery of Anne Boleyn reminds us that history is not a dry list of dates, but a living organism, filled with personal tragedies, political games, and unsolved riddles. It shows how fragile a human life can be in the face of absolute power, and how easily justice can be reduced to a staged spectacle. Anne Boleyn perished, but her ghost still wanders the halls of modern history, silently asking us, where is the line between truth and fiction? And does truth ever truly win, or is it merely in the service of those with the power to interpret it? As you listen to this tale, ask yourself, how many more such stories have remained untold, buried beneath layers of time and propaganda? But the story does not end at the scaffold. The execution of Anne Boleyn was not a full stop, but a semicolon in the turbulent narrative of the Tudor dynasty. Her ghost, in a metaphorical sense, continued to walk the corridors of power. Consider the fate of her accusers. Thomas Cromwell, the architect of her downfall, himself fell from grace and was executed just 4 years later. His methods and ruthlessness ultimately turned against him. It was a poetic, brutal justice that begs the question, was he the mastermind, or merely another pawn in the king's deadly game, eliminated when he became a liability? And then, there is the ultimate paradox, Elizabeth. The daughter for whom Anne had fought so hard, the living reminder of the failure to produce a male heir, became England's most iconic queen. Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, whose very identity was shaped by her mother's scandalous reputation. She rarely spoke of Anne publicly, but she wore a locket ring containing a portrait of herself and, hidden inside, a miniature of the mother she never knew. This silent, intimate tribute speaks volumes. Did Elizabeth spend her reign vindicating her mother's legacy? Her fierce intelligence, her political shrewdness, her refusal to be dominated by any man, were these not the very traits for which Anne was condemned? In elevating her daughter to near mythical status, England, in a way, posthumously pardoned the woman it had killed. This leads us to the most profound and unsettling layer of the mystery, the battle for truth itself. History, as the saying goes, is written by the victors. In this case, the victors were Henry VIII and the Tudor propaganda machine. They meticulously crafted a narrative of a witch, an adulteress, a traitor. For centuries, this was the accepted story. It was only through later scholarship, through the re-examination of letters, ambassadorial reports, and the glaring inconsistencies in the trial, that a different Anne began to emerge. This forces us to confront a chilling reality: how much of what we accept as historical fact is merely a sanctioned version of events, a story designed to consolidate power and justify atrocity. The mystery of Anne Boleyn, therefore, is more than a historical true crime puzzle. It is a timeless case study in the corruption of justice by power, the erasure of a woman's voice, and the fragility of truth. It asks us how we can ever truly know the past when the primary sources are stained with bias and fear. Her story is a haunting reminder that behind the grand tapestries of history are human beings, their loves, their ambitions, and their screams, often silenced by the relentless march of official narratives. She becomes a symbol for all those lost to political expediency, a question mark forever placed next to the absolute power of the state. Her silence echoes through the centuries, challenging us to listen, to question, and to remember.